Well, guys, we have made it through another chaotic week with this disastrous Trump administration, which means Donald Trump has been in office now for 21 weeks. He's got 187 weeks left to go, and if you are counting down the days, it is 1,310 days until, hopefully, he removes himself from the White House. Now, me personally, I'm crossing my fingers for the aneurysm, but because another week is blown right on by, it is time for another weekly roundup. And for those of you that don't know, the weekly roundup is the part in the week where we gather up a whole bunch of different clips that don't necessarily touch on any particular topic, but it kind of gives us a way to catch up on anything that we may have missed. And hopefully, if we're lucky, we get to have a laugh or two as well. Now, of course, last week, we had the No Kings protest, which was a wildly successful event. I hope everybody was able to make it out and have some fun. And I hope everybody's enjoying their summer so far. I mean, before we know it, the leaves will be changing colors again. So I hope everybody's taking time and enjoying the nice weather. But without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump off with this clip. Here is a sheriff that came out before the No Kings protest and made this threat. If you guys do appreciate my work, please do remember to subscribe.
If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead.
We'll kill you graveyard dead. You best believe it. We're down here in Florida. You best believe.
Now, the only reason I show this clip is because in Trump's America, in this MAGA emboldened universe that we are currently finding ourselves in, people just feel like they need to be their absolute worst selves all the time. These MAGA assholes feel more emboldened now than ever. They make unhinged threats, even from a place of power like a sheriff. And this is what Donald Trump is doing to our country. This is a MAGA lunatic who probably wouldn't go to a no masks protest and make these exact same threats, but he probably saw that No Kings was coming to town. It's going to be a whole bunch of lunatic commies, so I best get out there in front of the TV and make sure that everybody knows we will inflict pain on you, we will inflict death on you, and we will kill you graveyard dead if you mess with us or if you get out of line. Now, of course, these protests were peaceful. Overwhelmingly peaceful, like 99.99999% peaceful. This type of rhetoric is just unnecessary. And it's coming from a sheriff. He's just trying to inflame tensions to give himself the opportunity to inflict pain upon Donald Trump's perceived enemies, but for MAGA's perceived enemies. It's just absolutely disgusting in the United States of America. Let's go ahead and move on to this clip where Fetterman, he's really not concerned about Donald Trump's military parade.
I'm not sure why Democrats would boo a fellow Democrat, but that's their prerogative now. And now with that military parade, again, you know, there was no goose stepping. And now, like, first of all, let's say stop ever comparing anything to the Nazis and those kinds of things. That's crazy. And now remember, that's our soldiers. That's, you know, this is not an occupying force. You know, this is a 250, anniversary for the Army. Why? I'm not sure why it's outrageous to have a parade to celebrate the Army.
Is Fetterman okay? Because he has turned out to be one of the biggest disappointments in Congress. And the last I checked, the Nazis weren't known for goose-stepping down the streets. They were known for inflicting pain on their political rivals. And then things escalated profusely, and then they started gassing the Jews. Nobody's making a comparison that Donald Trump is Hitler, but he certainly is using some of the same tactics that Hitler used in the lead-up to the genocide. And for Fetterman to just come out and say, oh, well, what's the big deal, guys? Why can't we celebrate the Army? We all know this wasn't about a celebration of the Army. And any political commentary that I saw around the parade, everybody made sure that we were not criticizing the military. The criticism was levied at Donald Trump and his dictatorial-like tactics to try to show force in this type of way. John Fetterman has just lost the plot. He's lost the plot. What is he doing on Fox News anyway? I mean, it's just pathetic, especially coming from another Democrat. Let's Let's go to move on to this clip where Don Jr. is talking about the crypto venture and how it couldn't be corrupt, guys.
Don't you create something, too, that could be open to outside influence, foreign investors, for example? That Trump meme coin got a lot of attention, could come on and maybe influence policy, potentially. Isn't there the potential for conflict there?
You know, my father would have to be sitting there looking at names on the blockchain, and, you know, he's not exactly a guy that uses a computer all that much. So,
does anybody believe this nonsense? Do we really believe that Donald Trump has no involvement in the crypto coin, in the meme coin, in the scam coin that he launched just a couple days before his inauguration? Does anybody really buy this crap? And it would be so easy. You know, Donald Trump just held a dinner for the meme coin's top holders. It would be so easy for somebody to feed information to somebody like Don Jr. and say, hey, we're going to deposit $11,200,313.82. I'm going to do it from this wallet. It would be so easy to peddle influence in this way. Donald Trump has basically opened up a Swiss bank account that only he has eyeballs on, only he has the information to. Of course he could take donations to influence policy around the world. That is one of the main concerns that he launched this scam coin in the first place. And for Donald Trump Jr. to play stupid like this, I mean, I just really hope that the MAGA folks aren't buying this crap. Now, they might not want to believe that Donald Trump is corrupt, but to think that it's not possible to peddle influence through this meme coin, it's just delusional thinking. It's just delusional. Let's move on to this anti-trans pastor and just listen to what he has to say here. It is quite gross.
When you're projecting a sexual and gender identity onto minors, historically we had a definition for that. You were called a pervert and a groomer, and the community or town you lived in might wake up the next morning to find you dead in an alleyway. I'm not calling for that. I'm observing how little tolerance we used to have for this kind of stuff.
What is wrong with these people? Just casually suggesting that maybe the trans folks, they might find themselves dead in times past. But I'm not calling for that, guys. I just need to make everybody know. I need to let everybody know that this type of stuff wouldn't have been tolerated in times past. These people are absolutely disgusting. Trans identity has nothing to do with sexuality. It is you who are blurring those lines. And for you to just demonize a whole group of people like this and then just casually reference murder, I mean, what is wrong with these people? They're bigoted individuals. They are terrible, terrible human beings. Do you think Jesus, if he came back today, would take this guy under his arm and say, oh, you're doing a good job, bro. Thanks for teaching the word of God? No, dude. He wouldn't. He would cast you aside and say you are a hateful, hateful person and you do not belong in my kingdom. That is what he would likely say. These people are disgusting. Let's move on to this clip where you've got Rachel Campos Duffy trying to blame Biden for the tensions in Iran right now.
Another thing that needs to be pointed out, and I don't think we talk enough about it, which is the fact that Joe Biden and his administration funded the Iranians, essentially. Right. They throttled American energy production.
Open the oil spigots.
And then open the oil spigot, which...
Yeah, guys. It's Biden's fault yet again. Donald Trump is inflaming tensions all over the world. He's abandoning our allies. He's pulling out of negotiations and diplomatic talks. He's leaving the G7 early, and then he's going online on social media, and he's threatening to kill another world leader in Iran. I mean, it's not Donald Trump's fault, guys. He's got nothing to do with this. He's trying really hard to make sure that there's peace around the world. But look what Biden did. Biden unfroze some aid so they could use it for humanitarian efforts, and therefore he must be responsible for what is currently going on in Iran right now. These people, they're They're just so pathetic. They've got nothing. They can never work themselves through a problem like this. They can never evaluate the world and the facts in the world as they stand. Instead, it's always, I got to fight for my side, and therefore I will spin up any story necessary to make my side look better. That is the calculation. That is the only calculation that these people make. So instead of looking at how maybe Trump is contributing to tensions in the region, or how Donald Trump is maybe not doing some things correctly with these diplomatic talks or whatever, no, you just got to blame Biden. Just divert all the attention over there. Let's make sure our viewers know that this is Biden's fault, baby. It's just the playbook that they keep on reusing over and over and over again. Here's Dr. Drew trying to conflate No Kings protesters, peaceful protesters, with murderers.
It's mostly peaceful, but even a murderer is mostly peaceful, except on that 1 second when he was not so peaceful. So this business of mostly peaceful is also a hoax.
What? You're trying to say that No Kings protesters who showed up in huge numbers, who remained overwhelmingly peaceful, well, that's all a hoax, because murderers, before they committed murder,
Well, they were peaceful too, guys.
when did this guy become so brain dead? What a stupid comparison to make. Trying to demonize all of these No Kings protesters who came out to engage in their civic duty of peaceful protesting, and you want to malign them as some sort of nefarious actors, like a murderer? Come on, people. Come on, people. That is what is wrong with our country right now. The people on the right, the people who look at the left and cast all of this doubt and all of this dehumanization and dehumanizing language, it's tearing the fabric of our society apart. Where now you've got many people on the right who look at somebody like me as an evildoer, right? Look at people like you as somebody who's trying to rip this country apart. It's disgusting. We cannot continue to sustain this level of animosity between one another. We just cannot keep on doing this into perpetuity. It's not going to work. We have to come to some sort of resolution here. We have to come back to some sort of shared understanding. These people in the MAGA conspiracy bubble are no longer living in a factual reality, which makes it really hard for us on the left to even engage with reasonable conversation anymore. I'm not saying that it's all people on the right's fault. We all contribute to this environment. But it is the MAGA folks who have just detached from this world and are living in their own la-la land. It is quite wild. Let's go ahead and move on to this clip, where you've got Lisa McClain saying that maybe criminals shouldn't be representing the people.
If you get convicted, that's a whole different ballgame. That's a whole different story there. And then I think we absolutely need to talk about, do we really want a convicted criminal representing the people? I personally, Lisa McClain, say no.
Do you think she knows who's at the top of the Republican Party right now? Does she not remember that Donald Trump was convicted of 34 felonies? But all of a sudden, Lisa McClain says, well, no, if they get convicted of a crime, of course they shouldn't be representing the people, guys. Those aren't the types of people we should elevate to positions of leadership. Maybe I tend to agree with her. But your guy is the most lawless president that this country's ever seen. He is the most criminal president that this country's ever seen. And even as president, he's not even abiding by our laws. He is a criminal president. He's ignoring the Supreme Court. He is blatantly violating the Constitution. But if we want to use your standard of criminal conviction, then he still loses. He was found, not criminally civilly liable of sexual assault. He was convicted of 34 different felonies. He was going to be convicted of far more crimes, but then the American people, in all of their genius, we decided to reelect the moron, and all of those charges actually ended up getting dropped, and so he didn't get held accountable for those. But even by her own standards, Donald Trump is a felon, and therefore maybe he shouldn't be at the top of the Republican ticket. These people are crazy. They're crazy. Like I said, they are living in a whole different reality where they just somehow forget that Donald Trump is a convicted felon. Let's go to move on to this last clip. And I wanted to highlight Gavin Newsom this week because I think he has been doing a fantastic job taking on Trump with all of these deployments of the Marines, deployment of the National Guard to the streets of LA. I think Gavin Newsom has been acting correctly here, and here he is responding to the idea of the military parade that Donald Trump held in his birthday honor.
Saturday in response to this military event.
Do it peacefully. It's a vulgar display. It's the kind of thing you see Kim Jong-un, you see it Putin, you see it with dictators around the world that are weak and just want to demonstrate strength. Weakness masquerading as strength. To fet the dear leader on his birthday, what an embarrassment. Honestly, that's about as small as it gets. How weak do you have to be to commandeer the military to fet you on your birthday in a vulgar display of weakness? That's Donald Trump.
Yeah, he's exactly right. And the reason that I wanted to highlight this week is because, like I said, I think he's been doing most things right when it comes to this whole deployment of National Guard, deployment of the active duty Marines to the streets of LA. He's no longer mincing words. He's calling Donald Trump out for what Donald Trump actually is. He is looking at the same authoritarian power grab that Donald Trump is trying to force upon the country, and he is calling it out, and he's not mincing words about it. And I absolutely love that. But when it comes to the protests, even the No Kings protests and the anti-ICE protests that we are seeing in LA, in California, I think he's also approaching that messaging correctly as well. He is always denouncing the violence, which I think is something that we have to continue to do, or they will try to misalign us with violent factions of the crazy lefties. I don't think we need to be associated with those people. So, of course, we need to condemn the violence, and we need to always reiterate the message that these protests should remain peaceful. It is our civic duty to engage in peaceful protests, and I really love that Gavin Newsom has not minced words about it whatsoever. I think we have learned our lesson. After we saw what happened in 2020, I think maybe there were some Democratic leaders who were a little bit timid about denouncing this or denouncing that. And I think that hurt us. And I think Gavin Newsom has learned a lesson from 2020, and he is taking forward the proper adjustments moving into the future. And I think it is the exact right thing to do. And I just think he has put on a masterclass into how to handle Donald Trump. He's standing up for the people of California. He is calling out the authoritarian and the fascism for what it is. And he is not backing down. And he is taking Trump to court to try to quell all of these fascistic and authoritarian tendencies. I think he is doing the exact right thing, and he is elevating himself on the world stage as a result of that. And I think, really, us in the Democratic Party have been looking for somebody who is going to stand up to Donald Trump in the way that Gavin Newsom has started to do. And so I really just wanted to highlight there. I'm not saying that I agree with Gavin Newsom on everything, but I think in this moment, this is what Democrats want to see. We want to see people who are standing up to Donald Trump and calling him out for the fascist and the authoritarian that he is. So those are the clips that I had for you guys this week. I know it's been chaotic out there. We are wondering whether or not we are going to be entering into a new war in the Middle East. Donald Trump is promising that he's going to let us know in 2 weeks whether or not that is actually going to become a thing. There's a whole lot going on around the country. We've got people getting snatched off the streets by masked thugs who are working for ICE. It's chaos out there. I know. But we made it through another week. Like I said, if we continue to stay together, if we continue to build a coalition, if we continue to build this community, it's going to make these next 4 years a little bit easier. And we need to start building coalition now to overturn or topple this MAGA movement. because they are trying to destroy this country right now. And when we get greater numbers coming out to the streets and doing things like the No Kings protests, there are other people around the country who perk up and they start to listen to what we have to say. So, like I said in the beginning, I hope everybody's enjoying their summer so far. I hope everybody's staying safe out there. Obviously, there's a lot to deal with, but I hope at least you guys are taking a step back from politics every once in a while. I try to take the weekends off from politics to some extent. But, like I said, I think we're going to make it through. Things might get worse before they get better. But if we stick together, keep our chin up, we will make it through to live another day. So, I'll leave it there for now, guys. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We are trying to build something here on the left that adequately pushes back against the right-wing media ecosystem that just launders Donald Trump's fascist nonsense day in and day out. So if you do like what I do here, please do remember to smash that subscribe button. Of course, that is free. And if you guys want to see the No Kings turnout and how millions upon millions of people came out to rebuke Donald Trump and his authoritarian tendencies, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now, because you get to see the Proud Boys surrounded by a whole bunch of musicians and chased out of the protest, which was quite delightful to see. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.